The alien marketplace was louder than thunder. Voices rose and fell like waves, each seller shouting about their good shiny weapons. Glowing fruits, strange pets in cages. The three suns above baked the wide stone square, making the air heavy and cruel. Dust swirled between stalls, stinging the eyes of those who dared to look too long. And yet, in the very center of this place, there was silence. A girl sat on the ground, her knees pulled to her chest. She had no clothes, no shoes, nothing to cover herself from the burning heat or the cold stares. Her skin, pale with a faint alien glow, was smeared with dirt. Her long hair hung in knots, and her lips trembled. She tried to shrink into herself, but there was no escape. The crowd passed her, but no one stopped. "Too weak," one trader muttered. "Not worth even a single credit." Another spat. "She will not survive the night." The girl closed her eyes as if shutting the world. A way would make it vanish. But the voices still pierced her ears. She had been brought here like an object, displayed and left behind when no one wanted her. Her heart pounded with fear. Every moment felt like a knife. Children ran past her, laughing cruelly. They pointed at her thin frame, mocking her. Some threw pieces of rotten fruit. Few aliens whispered about taking her for free, but even then, none bothered. She was nothing to them, trash in the middle of the market. But then a sound cut through the chaos. Heavy boots. Different from the alien steps. Slow, steady, echoing. The girl dared to lift her head. A shadow fell across her body. Standing there was not a towering alien, not a glowing-eyed creature from another world, but a man. A human. He was tall, his shoulders broad, his clothes dusty from travel. His jacket had seen better days, patched with stitches, but strong. A scar marked the edge of his jaw, and his eyes cold and sharp scanned the marketplace. In one hand, he carried a bag, worn but heavy. The traders watched him with mixed looks, some wary, some disgusted. Humans were rare here. And this one did not look weak. The girl's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to speak, to cry, but her voice failed. The man's gaze fell on her. For a moment, the marketplace seemed to stop. The shouts, the deals, the laughter all faded. His brow furrowed as he looked at her trembling form. A nearby trader noticed his stare and sneered. "No one wants her, human. She is useless. Leave her, walk away." The human did not answer. He crouched down slowly, his shadow covering the girl like a blanket. His eyes softened just a little. "Who left you here?" he asked, his voice deep but calm. The girl shook her head. Tears welled up, sliding down her cheeks. She tried to speak, but only a broken whisper escaped. "No one wants me." The human clenched his jaw. He looked around at the crowd, at the aliens who mocked, at the ones who ignored. His hand tightened on his bag. Another trader laughed loudly. "Don't waste your time, human. She will not live long. Even animals are worth more." The man stood, his tall frame casting a longer shadow over her. His voice rose, not in anger, but in steel. "Then she comes with me." The crowd murmured. Some laughed. Others hissed. A few watched with sharp eyes, as if weighing the situation. The girl's eyes widened. Her heart raced. Did he mean it? Was he truly taking her? The human dropped his bag onto the ground and took off his jacket. Without hesitation, he wrapped it around her small shoulders. The cloth smelled of travel, of dust and smoke, but it was warm. For the first time, she felt something other than the sting of shame. Her tears flowed harder. She wanted to believe. She wanted to trust, but deep inside, a question burned in her mind. Why would a human risk himself for her, in a market where kindness was weakness? The suns began to sink lower, painting the market in blood-red light. The crowd stirred, sensing trouble. The human's choice was not just strange, it was dangerous. And the girl, shivering under his jacket, realized her life was about to change forever. The marketplace didn't stay quiet for long. As soon as the human wrapped his jacket around the crowd exploded with noise. Foolish human. One alien barked, its 4 eyes narrowing. He dares to take what was thrown away. Hissed another, he will regret this. Kindness is weakness here. The girl trembled under the jacket, holding the fabric close as if it were the only thing keeping her alive. The man didn't flinch at the noise. His eyes moved slowly across the market, meeting every hateful stare with cold defiance. He reached down, lifted his bag with one hand, and with the other helped the girl to her feet. She staggered, her legs weak from hunger and fear. The human steadied her, firm but gentle. The traders muttered. Some laughed, others looked angry. One even spat on the ground near them. The human finally spoke, his voice calm but heavy enough to carry across the square. She is mine now. The words made the crowd buzz louder. A tall alien with tusks stepped forward, its muscles bulging under metal plates. It towered over both the human and the girl. You think you can walk away with her? The tusked alien growled. No one gave you permission. The human met its glare without a trace of fear. I don't need permission. The alien roared. With laughter, its voice shook the stalls. Humans always believe they are special. Let's see how long you last. The girl's heart raced. She gripped the jacket tighter, pressing herself closer to the man who now stood between her and danger. She had never seen anyone talk back like this. Every alien before had either mocked her or ignored her. But this human, he was different. The tusked alien leaned closer, its breath hot and foul. Leave her, walk away, or you will not leave this market alive. The human's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. Not joy, not arrogance, something sharper. Try me. For a tense moment, it seemed like the market would explode into violence. The girl's knees shook so badly she almost collapsed. The crowd pressed closer, eager to see the human crushed. But then, another voice rang out, cold and sharp. Enough. The crowd shifted, and a new figure emerged from the shadows of a stall. It was a merchant, tall and thin, his skin glimmering with metallic scales. His long robe dragged across the dirt. His eyes, bright like molten gold, studied the human with interest. This one is not worth fighting over, the merchant said, smoothly, pointing a clawed finger at the girl. Let him take her. She is a burden no one wanted. If the human wishes to carry trash, let him carry it. The tusked alien growled but stepped back, glaring. The crowd's excitement turned to disappointment. Without a fight, the spectacle ended. Still, whispers chased them as the human turned, guiding the girl out of the square. Crazy human. He won't survive. The girl will drag him down. The girl walked slowly, every step heavy with disbelief. The human's grip on. Her arm was firm, not cruel, guiding her forward. She wanted to ask him why. Why would he take her? Why risk so much for someone abandoned? But her throat was dry, her voice still broken. Finally, when the market was far behind, she whispered, "Why? Me?" The human looked down at her. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes softened just a little. No one should be left. Like that, he said simply. Her chest tightened. The words were so simple, yet they cut deeper than anything she had ever heard. For the first time, she felt the faint spark of hope, but hope was fragile. As they moved down the dusty road, she noticed shadows moving along the rooftops above, figures slipping from alley to alley. Watching, the human noticed too. His hand went to his belt, where a holster rested. His pace quickened, but his face stayed calm. The girl's trembling returned. "They're following us," she whispered. The man's jaw tightened. He didn't answer, but his grip on her shoulder grew steadier, protective. Behind them, soft footsteps echoed louder, closer. A whisper carried on the wind. "The human has taken her. Don't let him leave the city alive." The girl's blood ran cold. Whoever they weren't going to let her go so easily. And the human, though silent, knew it too. His eyes scanned the shadows, his every step ready for what was about to come, because taking her was not the end. It was only the beginning. The narrow streets outside the market twisted like veins through the alien city. Broken lanterns hung from crooked poles, spilling dim green light on the cracked stone paths. Strange creatures with long arms and wide eyes scurried into the alleys as the human walked past. The girl at his side, but they were not alone. Behind them, the shadows moved. Shapes slipped across rooftops, and whispers followed the wind. The girl's hands trembled as she clutched his jacket tighter. Every sound, the scrape of claws, the rustle of cloth made her flinch. The human said nothing, but his eyes were sharp, scanning every corner. His hand hovered near the weapon at his belt. His calm steps made it look like he was walking casually. But the tension in his shoulders told a different story. At last, the girl found her voice. It came out small, almost broken. "They're following us." The human didn't slow down. "I know." Her heart pounded. "Why?" "They didn't want me. Why would they chase us now?" The man's jaw tightened. "Because no one gives something up without wanting it back." The words sank into her chest. Like stones. She thought she was worthless, thrown away like trash. But now someone wanted her, and not for kindness. The road bent sharply, leading into a tunnel where faint blue lights flickered overhead. The man guided her inside. The tunnel smelled of rust and old oil, its walls damp with leaking pipes. Their footsteps echoed. That's when the first sound came, a soft thud above, like boots landing on metal. The human stopped. His eyes lifted. Slowly, he pushed the girl behind him. "Stay close," he said. She swallowed hard. Her whole body wanted to run, but her legs refused from the shadows ahead. 3 figures stepped into the light. Tall, armored, their eyes glowing faint red. Hunters, their sharp weapons gleamed, curved like sickles. Behind, more shapes blocked the exit. The girl's breath froze. They were trapped. One of the hunters laughed, the sound cruel and metallic. "Human, you've taken what doesn't belong to you. Hand her over, and maybe we let you walk away." The man's hand finally touched the grip of his weapon, a sleek, human-made pistol, scarred from years of use. He didn't raise it yet. His voice stayed calm. "She belongs to no one." The hunters hissed at his defiance. One stepped forward, swinging his blade in the air. The sharp edge sang as it cut through nothing. The girl's knees buckled. She pressed against the damp wall, praying the human wouldn't abandon her. Then it happened. The hunter lunged. The human's pistol snapped up faster than her eyes could follow. A crack of fire lit the tunnel, and the blast echoed like thunder. The hunter's weapon clattered to the ground, his hand smoking from the hit. He roared in pain, stumbling back. The crowd of hunters shouted, charging all at once. The human moved like water, quick, precise, deadly. Each shot was measured. Each step kept the girl behind him. The tunnel flashed with bursts of light as enemies fell, one after another. Sparks rained from the ceiling as bullets struck metal pipes, filling the air with steam. The girl could hardly breathe. She had never seen anything like it. One man against so many, and yet he stood unbroken. But the hunters didn't stop. They pressed harder, blades cutting through the steam, voices filled with rage. One slipped close, swinging for the girl. She screamed. The human spun, blocking the strike with his arm. The blade cut his sleeve, tearing the skin, but he didn't falter. His fist struck the alien's jaw, sending it crashing into the wall. Blood ran down his arm, but his grip on the pistol never wavered. Finally, silence fell. Smoke and steam curled through the tunnel. The hunters lay scattered, some groaning, some motionless. The girl covered her mouth, her chest heaving with fear and awe. The human lowered his weapon. His breathing was steady, though sweat and blood marked his skin. He looked at her, his voice calm as ever. "Can you walk?" Her lips trembled. She nodded slowly, though her legs still shook. He stepped closer, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Then we move. More will come." The girl stared at him, the jacket still wrapped around her fragile frame. Her thoughts screamed with questions: why he fought, why he didn't abandon her, why he risked his life. But only one truth echoed in her mind. For the first time, someone had chosen her, and the city would not forgive him for it. The tunnel behind them stank of smoke and blood. Steam hissed from broken pipes, wrapping the silence in a heavy shroud. The human kept his weapon raised as he guided the girl forward, step by step, until the glow of the city lights finally spilled ahead. When they emerged, the streets were quieter. Night had fallen, and with it came a different kind of danger. Strange neon signs flickered over closed stalls, and shadows stretched long under the dim lamps. The girl's legs were weak, but she pushed herself to keep up. The human's hand on her shoulder gave her strength, even though his arms still bled. They didn't speak for a long time. Only the sound of boots on stone. Only the faint hiss of distant machines. Finally, the girl whispered, her voice breaking the silence. "You got hurt because of me." The human glanced down at his arm. The blood dried against torn fabric. He shrugged. "I've had worse." Her throat tightened. She wanted to say more, but words failed. She had been thrown away like nothing, yet he had fought for her as if she mattered. That thought burned inside her chest, confusing and frightening. Soon, he led her into a narrow alley and stopped before a broken metal door. He kicked it once, and the rusty hinges groaned. The door swung open into darkness. The man scanned the space, checked the corners, then motioned her inside. It was an abandoned workshop. Dust coated the machines, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling pipes. But it was shelter, hidden away from the eyes above. "Sit," he said, nodding at a bench. The girl obeyed, pulling his jacket tighter around her thin frame. The human rummaged through his bag, pulling out a small metal case. From it, he took out a cloth and a bottle of clear liquid. He poured some over his wound, and the sharp smell filled the room. She winced at the sight. "Doesn't it hurt?" He smirked faintly. "Pain means I'm still alive." For a moment, she just watched him. His movements were steady, his expression, but there was something in his eyes, a quiet weight, like he had seen this too many times before. The silence pressed down until she couldn't hold it anymore. "My name." She hesitated, her voice trembling. "It's Lyra." Atiman paused, meeting her gaze. His eyes softened. "Lyra," he repeated, as if testing the sound. "I'm Kale." She nodded slowly, whispering his name like a secret. Kale the First. Person who had given her a reason to breathe again. Her hands shook as she pulled the jacket tighter. She stared at the floor, her voice breaking. "They brought me to the market because I failed." Kale raised a brow. "Failed." Her eyes shimmered with tears. "I wasn't strong enough. My people. They only keep those who are useful. The rest are sold or abandoned. No one wants the weak." The words hit the air like stones dropped in water, heavy and painful. Kale's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing. "Sounds like their failure," he said firmly. She blinked at him, shocked. What? He leaned forward, resting his arm on his knee. His voice was steady, iron in every word. Leaving a child to die isn't strength. It's cowardice. Her lips parted. No one had ever spoken like that. For so long she had believed she was worthless, a burden. But in his voice there was no doubt, no hesitation. Her tears finally fell, sliding down her cheeks. For the first time. They weren't from shame, but from something closer to relief. Cale looked away, scanning the broken windows. They'll come again, stronger this time. Whoever sent those hunters doesn't like losing property. Lyra's chest tightened. Then why keep me? Why not leave me before it's too late? Cale's eyes locked on hers, cold, steady, unshakable. Because you're not property. The words cut through her fear like fire through ice. She hugged his jacket tighter, her tears wetting the fabric. Something inside her heart shifted, fragile but growing. Before either could speak again, a sound shattered the silence. A sharp clang echoed from outside the workshop, followed by whispers too low to understand. Lyra froze, her eyes wide. Cale rose to his feet, pistol already in hand. His expression hardened. They've found us. Lyra's stomach twisted with terror. She wanted to scream, to beg him to run, but her voice died in her throat. Cale stepped to the door, shoulders straight, ready to face whatever waited in the dark. And Lyra realized with a cold shiver every moment with this human pulled her deeper into a world of danger. She could never escape. But for the first time, she didn't want to. The silence in the workshop shattered as the metal door rattled under a heavy strike. Dust fell from the ceiling pipes. Lyra jumped, her hands clutching the human's jacket tight around her shoulders. Cale stood like stone. Pistol raised, eyes locked on the door. His body was calm, but Lyra could see the tension in his stance, the readiness of a man who had lived. Through too many battles, the second strike came harder. The hinges screamed. Voices muttered outside, rough and guttural. They're here, Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. Cale glanced at her. Stay behind me. Don't move unless I say. Her knees shook so badly she could barely nod. With a final crash, the door burst open. 3 figures stormed inside, armored and armed, their eyes glowing like fire. Behind them, more shadows crowded the alley. The leader hissed, pointing a jagged blade toward Lyra. The girl belongs to us. Cale's voice cut through the room, like steel. Not anymore. Before the hunters could respond, his pistol roared. The flash lit the workshop, and the first attacker fell, armor sparking as he hit the ground. The others shouted, charging forward. Lyra pressed against the wall, her heart pounding so hard she thought it would burst. The workshop exploded into chaos. Gunfire cracked. Blades clashed against metal. Sparks flew from shattered machines. Cale moved like a shadow, every shot precise, every step controlled. But the attackers were many. More poured in through the broken door, their weapons slicing through the dust-filled air. Cale fired again and again, dropping one after another. But they pressed closer. One alien lunged past him, reaching for Lyra. She screamed, stumbling back. The hand grabbed her arm, its grip crushing. Let her go. Cale's shout thundered through the room. He turned, fired, and the alien collapsed, dragging her down with it. Lyra crawled free, tears blurring her vision, the jacket slipping from her shoulder. Cale grabbed her wrist, hauling her up. Move. Together they rushed toward the back of the workshop. Bullets and blades cut the air behind them. Cale kicked open a side door, leading into a stairwell that dropped into darkness. They thundered down the steps. The hunters shouting above, their boots pounding close behind. The stairwell ended in a heavy grate. Cale slammed his boot against It once, twice, until the rusted metal snapped. He pushed Lyra through first, then crawled after her into a tunnel choked with damp air. The smell hit her hot oil and stagnant water. Her stomach turned. "Where are we?" "The underbelly," Kale said, his voice low. "Sewers. They won't stop chasing. We use this to lose them." Lyra looked back, eyes wide. Light flickered. Behind them, torches moving down the stairwell. The hunters were coming. Kale grabbed her hand. "Run." The tunnel stretched endlessly, the floor slick beneath their feet. Water dripped from pipes above, echoing like distant footsteps. Lyra's breath came fast, sharp, her chest burning. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound a threat. Behind them, the hunters' voices grew louder. Kale suddenly stopped, pulling her against the wall. He raised his pistol, scanning the darkness. Head. The tunnel split in 3 directions. "They'll expect us to take the main route," he muttered. He pointed to the narrowest passage, half flooded with water. "We go there." Lyra's eyes widened. The passage was barely big enough to crawl through. The water black and cold. "They'll catch us if we don't," Kale said firmly. She swallowed her fear and nodded. Together, they dropped into the narrow passage, crawling through the icy water. The tunnel wall scraped against their shoulders, and every movement splashed too loud in her ears. Behind the hunters reached the split. Their shouts echoed, confused at first, then angrier as some turned down the wrong way. But a few followed the sound of water. Lyra's teeth chattered as the freezing liquid reached her chest. "I can't." She gasped. Kale's voice was steady, close to her ear. "Yes, you can. Keep moving. I'm right behind you." Her arms burned, her knees bruised against the stone, but his words pushed her forward. Finally, the passage widened into a hidden chamber where dim light seeped. Through cracks above, they crawled out, dripping and shivering. Kale scanned the chamber, pistol ready. The hunters' footsteps were faint now, muffled in the wrong tunnels. For the first time since the break-in, silence returned. Lyra collapsed against the wall, shivering uncontrollably. Her chest heaved, but through her tears, she looked at him. "You could have left me. Why didn't you?" Kale crouched, meeting her eyes. His face was shadowed, his voice calm. "Because no one deserves to be hunted like an animal. Not while I'm alive." Her throat tightened. The fear in her chest mixed with something new trust, fragile but real. Above them, the chamber's cracks revealed faint starlight, and Lyra knew this was not the end. The city would not stop until she was theirs again, but for the first time, she wasn't facing it alone. The chamber was cold, damp, and silent except for the steady drip of water. Lyra's breath came out in shaky clouds, her small frame trembling. From the crawl through icy tunnels, she sat curled against the wall, hugging Kale's jacket close. But her eyes never left him. Kale stood in the center of the chamber, pistol still in hand, eyes scanning every shadow. Even when silence seemed safe, he did not relax. His scarred face was unreadable, but his stance said everything danger was never far. "At last," Lyra whispered, her voice thin. "They won't stop, will they?" Kale shook his head. "Not until they get what they want." Her chest tightened. "Me." Kale turned, his eyes sharp as steel. "No. What they think you are." Lyra frowned, confusion clouding her pale face. She had always believed she was nothing weak, unwanted, but the hunters, the merchants, the whispers, they all wanted her back. Why? Kale crouched in front of her, lowering his pistol. "Tell me the truth, Lyra. Why would they chase someone they called worthless? What are they hiding?" Her lips trembled. Her first instinct was silence. Her people had taught her that secrets were survival. But Kale's gaze burned with something different. Not greed, not cruelty. Just steady patience. Finally, Her voice broke free. I wasn't born like the others. Kale's brow furrowed. Lyra hugged herself tighter, tears shining in her eyes. My people, they test us from birth. Strength, speed, power. If we fail, we're discarded. But I wasn't just weak. I was different. Different how? Kale asked, his tone calm, but his jaw tight. She closed her eyes, her voice trembling. When I touch someone, sometimes I see things, memories, secrets, pain. They said it made me dangerous. So they tried to sell me instead of killing me. But no one wanted me. No one believed in the gift. Until now. Kale's eyes narrowed. A memory reader. No wonder the hunters pursued her. Information was more valuable than gold in these territories. That's why they won't stop, Kale muttered. Not because you're weak, but because you're powerful. Lyra shook, her head violently, tears spilling. It's not power, it's a curse. I see things I don't want to see. Pain I don't want to feel. I wish it would stop. Kale studied her, silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice low and steady. A curse only stays a curse if you let others decide what it means. She blinked at him, stunned. No one had ever spoken to her that way, not as trash, not as a weapon, but as someone who could choose. Before she could answer, a sound echoed through the chamber. A faint scrape of metal against stone. Kale rose instantly, pistol raised. His body moved like a drawn bowstring, ready to release at any second. The shadows shifted. Out from a crack in the far wall stepped a figure, not armored like the hunters, not loud like the merchants. This one was cloaked, who'd pulled low. Lyra's breath caught. The figure lifted its head, revealing sharp alien features lined with age. Its eyes glowed faint blue, steady and calm. You survived, the figure said softly, its voice echoing strangely in the chamber. I had hoped. Kale's finger tightened on the trigger. Who are you? The figure raised its hands slowly, showing they were empty. Not your enemy. I am Sereth. I once served among the council who ordered her discarded. Lyra's stomach twisted. You left me there. Sarah's eyes lowered. Yes, and I have lived with that shame. But you must understand the gift you carry is feared because it is real. They will not stop, not until you are under their control. Kale stepped closer, his voice cold. Then why are you here? Sereth's gaze met his. Because the girl is not just hunted. She is the key to something larger. And if you want to keep her alive, you must know the truth. Lyra's heart pounded. Her secret had already brought danger. But now, standing between Kale and this strange cloaked figure, she realized her life was tied to something far greater than she ever imagined. And Kale, silent but unyielding, knew one thing for certain: protecting her was about to get far more dangerous. The chamber seemed to shrink as Sereth's words hung in the air. Lyra pressed herself against the wall, her breath shallow. Her secret, the gift she hated, was no longer hers alone. Kale stood firm, pistol steady, his eyes locked on the cloaked figure. Talk fast, he said. Why is she the key? Asrath's blue eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Your people call it memory. My people call it essence. Lyra's gift does more than glimpse it can unlock what is hidden. Secrets buried in minds, codes locked by thought. With her touch, entire empires could be unmade. Lyra shook her head violently. No, I don't want that. I never asked for it. Sarah's voice softened. That is why they fear you, child. You cannot be controlled. They will hunt you until you are theirs, dead. Kale's grip on his pistol tightened. His mind worked quickly. A girl abandoned as worthless was, in truth, the most valuable prize in the city. And now, every faction would know. Footsteps thundered above. Voices echoed through the cracks. The hunters had found the trail again. Sereth's eyes darted upward. They are coming. If you stay, you die. If you run, you live, but only for a little while, unless you choose. Lyra's heart hammered. Her hands shook. She wanted to hide, to disappear. But Cale's voice broke through her storm of fear. "Listen to me," he said firmly, crouching in front of her. His scarred face was steady, his eyes sharp but kind. "You are not a curse. You are not trash. You get to decide what you are." Tears welled in her eyes. "But I'm afraid." "So am I," Cale said quietly. "But fear is not weakness. It means what we protect matters." The pounding grew louder. Dust fell from the ceiling. The hunters were breaking through. Sereth stepped back into the shadows. "Your time is up. Decide, Lyra. Hide forever or stand." The words stabbed her heart. She looked at Cale, who never looked away, never wavered. She thought of the marketplace, of the cold stares, of the fruit thrown at her. She thought of Cale's jacket around her shoulders, of his blood spilled for her, of his voice calling her more than property, and for the first time, she stood tall. "I won't run," she whispered. Her voice cracked, but it carried strength. "Not anymore." Cale's lips curved in the faintest smile. "Good. Then we fight." The ceiling burst. Hunters dropped through the cracks, blades gleaming, eyes glowing red. Their leader stepped forward, pointing at Lyra. The girl now, Cale raised his pistol. "You'll have to go through me." The hunters roared, charging. The chamber erupted in chaos. Cale fired, his pistol flashing again and again. Each shot struck true, but the hunters pressed closer, their numbers endless. Metal clashed, sparks rained, the air thick with smoke and rage. Lyra's body shook, but she didn't hide this time. She stepped forward, heart pounding, hands trembling. One hunter lunged at Cale from behind. Instinct took over. She grabbed its arm. The world split open, memories flooded, her battle cries. Orders from masters, a secret hidden deep. The hunters weren't just mercenaries. They were sent by the council itself, her own people. The ones who had abandoned her now demanded her return. Lyra gasped, releasing the hunter, who collapsed in confusion. Cale looked at her, shock flashing in his eyes. "What did you see?"